The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds, and I have Jarvis here with me today. He's going to give us a presentation, and then we're going to have a little discussion afterwards. With that said, Jarvis, how you doing?
I'm doing good. One day I would love to actually play your song, your intro song live. You know, me on the guitar, like, dude, I want to rock that live.
Right on, man.
Dude, I could do it.
That'd be cool.
But anyways.
All right, man. I'm going to give you the floor and tap out. You're good to go.
Thank you. I just have, I'm going to try to present on the wing here. Let's see. Share my screen, share. I'm going to do entire and do audio. Well, no, I'm going to cut the audio. And so, can you see my screen? Can you see that?
Yep, good to go.
So first I wanted to say Paul, also known as Inventor 3, deserves a huge shout out for his recent disclosure on John Hutchinson's related content. I love that video. You did a great job, man. Thank you for that. Also a shout out to John Hutchinson for allowing the content to be shared by Paul. Because from what I understand is Paul asked John if it's okay, and John said it's okay. So I like how John's crystal cells had electric materials mixed with barium titanate as a composite, and the Sparky Sweet used barium titanate too, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And I do want to show, if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe to Inventor 3. This is Paul. He just disclosed some really cool stuff on John Hutchinson's work. I just really would say that you should subscribe. And I appreciate that disclosure. That was a great disclosure. Thank you for that. So I guess the whole topic of today's video is who deserves credit? You know, does the inventor or the engineer deserve the credit? And the way I like to see it is research and development. You know, sometimes you got somebody that's better in the research and can toss the ideas and it's developed. Michael Faraday is a great builder. Even Tesla said that he was one of the giants, the shoulders of the giants that he stood upon was Michael Faraday, because Michael Faraday was just the man. And I had this debate, I'm not going to say their name, but between Sean Calderon and another person, but Sean was the pick, and he has been the best partner that I could ever ask for. He's my Michael Faraday. You know, I discovered a great guy there. He's my Michael Faraday. And who deserves the credit? They both deserve the credit, right? Don't they both? The researcher and the developer, you know. So you can toss up ideas, and if they work, at least it's on record through Nathan's channel. He's provided a great platform to do that. And sometimes it's both. And then Sean's cool designs have been mimicked on other channels with no credit. A shout out not that difficult. So all they got to do, those channels that are mimicking Sean's cool designs, and I'm not talking about Charlie C, he's cool, but maybe a guy that starts with the letter J, so I'm going to say, just give a shout out every now and then, because you learned it from somebody that deserves a shout out. Sean deserves a shout out for that, man. Okay, so I guess I'm going to close this for a second. Is it closed? Okay, go back. Be there?
Oh, I'm here. You got the floor, man.
So what I was working on, like, it's hard to show. I live in Georgia. It's really humid. And I can't be in a humid environment to do the electrics that are in my patent. I just want to show you, it literally is at least a week of over 60% on the humidity. That's the lower one.
Okay.
You got to have either 30% or less to try to do what I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do, take this bin here, and I got a dehumidifier that will go in there right here. So this dehumidifier will dehumidify that bin, and these aren't going to be the gloves that I use, but they're similar. These are actually like high voltage gloves. If you were to try to do like the figures of like fractal figures in wood, you'd use these gloves because they're rated for 26 kV DC, 16 kV AC. Most of my things are like 15, so they should be good for that. But they're similar gloves that would go into the bin so that you can have a humid environment in the bin. So put your hands through and have a sterile environment that's dry to do the experiments, compared to 60% humidity that I have to face. Make a bin, I call it a dry bin, and try to make it as dry and sterile as possible and work around with something similar to this. I just can't find them at this moment. They're similar, and it would go in there, and you glue these so that, like, if you flip them outside, you can just go back inside and go into it and have a dry and sterile environment to perform these type of things. If I had the money, I'd have my whole room dehydrated and stuff, but just a So what do? I sterilize it, and I want to start on diatomaceous earth because it's easier to sterilize. The sulfur, and the sulfur is what I was going to do for the negative electrode. And since it melts so close to the dehydration, I have to do a separate method, maybe a double boiler to dehydrate it, because my first goal is to clean the sulfur powder, clean it of oil and gases, and just have as clean a surface as possible, and then dehydrate it so that it's dry during this triboelectric precharging to use as an aggregate in the electret with a binder. And anything can be used as a binder. Hot glue, silicone caulk, beeswax is what I want to do. But the sulfur is difficult because that temperature difference is so close. I could dehydrate it and melt it easily, but I could double boil it and get a better control. So I'm going to double boil the sulfur, but the diatomaceous earth is easy. I just put it in the oven, you know? So I clean it. I was thinking you could use the computer spray cleaner, whereas like dusters, like clean it that way and compare it to just cleaning it with isopropyl alcohol of a high content. I got 91% and just like throw it in there. And what I learned from like mushroom cultivation is how to sterilize it quickly. Is what you do is you take the container and shake it with some isopropyl alcohol to get the fumes going. And then you take a grill igniter lighter and fire it, and it evaporates all that out as CO2 and water. And you can actually produce a vacuum doing that method too. Like if you had a container and you sparked it, it would create a vacuum because as it makes water, it's a less volume of the gas that exists at that time. So you can make a volume, implosive reaction by doing that. And so I just want to drive in at this point. Let me see my notes. I got ADD. That's why I'm miscellaneous. It's just miscellaneous shit. But anyways, yeah, like mushroom cultivation bins. I don't know. I like mushrooms. I'm gonna end it there. But I'm gonna use desiccants like those packs. I bought a bunch of those. So in the bin, it's gonna be desiccated, dry, and just a sterile environment for me to use some rubber gloves that are sealed and get in there and just no matter what day it's humid or not, it's as dry as possible. I just need that right now. So that's what I'm working on. Tesla, like Nathan, he likes to discuss Tesla patents. I thought this was a good one to discuss. Not many people discuss this one. Are you there, Nathan? I gotta quit sharing?
No, you're fine. We're hearing your voice, but your screen is frozen. You're good.
Can you see Tesla's patent?
No.
No? Hold on one second. This one? Can you see that?
Yep, we got it.
Yeah, I thought this one was interesting to share. Because, I've been talking about boosting, high voltage and stuff, but this is actually the opposite. The method of an apparatus for electrical conversion and distribution. So what he's doing here is he's taking a high voltage AC and reducing the voltage into current. So we've been discussing how to boost it very easily. And this patent discusses how to basically take that high voltage and put it into current if you wanted to do work. I thought this was, Tesla has so many good ones, but I thought this one would be fun to discuss with you, Nathan, if you had any questions.
Yeah, can you go through exactly how the energy flows through it and where it picks up the amps?
Well, the best way is in Tesla's words, if I could, scroll down after this. But on the first one, you can see one spark gap break. He labels it D here. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
So it's just one break here, and he's running loads on this line, okay? The cool thing, maybe the secret thing, is he uses two spark gaps here, okay, on figure 2. It's not just one spark gap, it's two spark gaps that he's using to convert high voltage AC, which is this, stored temporarily in a capacitor as it's going through the AC through two spark gas. Okay? Multiple spark gas. This is generator, this is generator, this is storage, this is load, and this is generator. So I think this is load 2. It doesn't have a G next to it. So generator, load, load, generator. And it's an AC high voltage, whatever frequency, but the capacitor is used to temporarily store the voltage and fire it through 2 spark gas. Okay? So if you want to take high voltage and you want to get high current, just listen to Tesla. You want to see what he said?
Yeah, what did he say?
All right. I'm going to go to the figure reference here. I like figure 2. I'm going to scan real quick. So he's discussing figure 1 here. I'll just say what he's discussing about figure 1. A represents generator of high tension, B, the conductors which lead out from the same. So he's using a generator of high tension and 2 conductors. At this point, we don't know if the generator is AC or DC. To these conductors are connected the conductor C of a working circuit containing. So when he says working circuit, it's different from a charging circuit. He defined a charging circuit as like the first stage, and the working circuit is the later stage, okay? Containing translating devices, such as incandescent lamps at that time, or motors, which were represented with the G figure, right? So those were motors. And one or both conductors B is a break D, right? Spark gap. The 2 ends being separated by an airspeed or a film of insulation through which a disruptive discharge takes place. And most people don't know that a disruptive discharge means that it's open at one point. The disruption in the discharge is the capacitor that discharges and disruptively it opens at one point. That's what a disruptive discharge is. It has to open. F is a condenser, the plates of which are connected. The plates of which are connected to the generating circuit. If the circuit possesses self-sufficient capacity, the conductor F may be dispensed with. So, but you have to have a long line. He's talking about transmission there, but it's easy, like home, to just use a capacitor. He called it a condenser, but it's a capacitor. And he had really cool capacitors that I would show after this, because, capacitors we do now doesn't understand the energy storage aspect. They try to get the capacity, but it's not about the capacity, it's about the voltage. The voltage squared is your energy there. So, but anyways, yeah, Tesla had some cool capacitors that work with this type of system. So, air gap B is the working circuit C. So let's see what the working circuit C is referencing. Yeah, the working circuit is after this, right? And this is an early patent, and what he started doing is he started using inductors in line here. You know what I mean? So he started choking the first. But you can use the inductor to do work if you wanted to do it with a motor. In my opinion, a Newman motor would be good. So like use the induction, open it, and it would charge this capacitor. And you can either use a 1 spark or a 2 spark system. And I would try this on it, because this is where it's at, to get from a high voltage to a high current to run generators, loads. But you need this balanced capacitor somehow. You can figure that out, Nathan.
Okay, so hold on. So please explain the high current. Where does it come from?
It comes from this capacitor reaching a saturation point that fires both of these at the same time, these two breaks, these two spark gaps. So,
Okay.
yeah. And you gotta read it, you know what I mean? But
Well, I can't read it. It's too small. So that's why I'm asking you.
let me, hold on one second. Just look this up, you know what I mean?
Okay. So you need both spark gaps in order to get the current to go higher?
Multiple spark gaps get you along the way of converting the high voltage into high current, if you want high current. And it's a
And it's
conversion.
going to lower the voltage, right?
Yeah, it's a conversion. Yeah, see here?
Yeah, I
But
thought.
if you want to convert the high voltage into a high current, just read this patent. it'll help you understand what he was doing to do that, you know. And if you could actually do that, you can take an atmospheric, like a balloon, just send it up and a high voltage. But if you can convert the high voltage into a current, then you're on the path to doing what Tesla was doing. But not many people actually read his patents. I've read his patents, you know. It's really like a manual. It's great to read what he's saying because you get it. You're like, oh, it's so when you read it, but you got to take the time to read what he was saying.
Okay, so he uses the variable capacitor in the center of it, and then it goes to two spark gaps. It looks just like Edwin Gray's patent.
Yeah. Yeah, the double spark gap, I think, is where it relates to the hairpin kind of method because it's really an open circuit. Even the capacitor that's charged to fire both at the same time, it's still open circuit. And the open circuit is what's interesting to me. I could disclose something so big, but then the big channels are gonna take it. You know, I don't want to disclose too early because then you get no recognition. You've provided the platform to get the information out. You deserve the credit to do that, you know. And for bigger channels to just pretend like they made it up is not right. They should give you some recognition for providing the platform, you know. I think.
To be honest with you, man.
You shout out like, "Hey, Nathan," you know what I mean? That's all I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to be honest with you, man, I just want people to learn. I could care less if they mention my name. Just make sure people learn and learn the right way. That's it.
It's good, but like I'm trying to pace because I want to disclose the next thing, but I'm trying to pace it because if I do it, you know, they're just gonna take it, and that's not fair. I think, you know, so I'm gonna hold it back for a little bit.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Jarvis. The best thing, you know, is to share the knowledge. So if you got a patent you do not want out there right now, then don't put it out there. But if you want to share your knowledge on Tesla coil, you want to share your knowledge on patents, you want to share your knowledge and walk people through circuits, that's all cool too. I mean, everybody's here to learn a little bit more. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing here. So you don't have to give away all the secrets to the stuff that you don't want out, but you know, some of the stuff that people need to learn that we should be learning as the basics of education of this should really get out.
Yeah. I wanted to get out, but as it gets out through this channel, there's other channels that get the recognition instead of this channel. And that's what, you know, and, you know, Gerald feels kind of similar. I know Sean feels similar. We're just upset because they literally, one channel literally used Sean's coil design and didn't give him credit. And, you know, it's like, okay, I'm ready to disclose what I want, but why, if I'm just disclosing and other people are using it and not giving any credit, why should I go further? I mean, I could go into secret patents and make money if that's my goal, but I don't want money.
Okay, so let's look at this in a different way.
Credit. Just give some shout outs every now and then. Just give some credit.
No, I understand. I guess you have to look at it a different way. So let me just say this. If you put it on the internet, it's forever. So it's coming out. Now, regardless if you get credit or not, you put it out. So now they have it. Now they're just going to abuse it. And that's basically how everything goes. So, I mean, that's why I don't bother getting frustrated about it, because if I put it out there, I expect them to do it. There's channels out there that'll just basically take the information I give and then go find the physics paper that deals with it, and they'll present that. I see that all the time. But the thing is, they're teaching people. They're showing people the process, where to look for it, things like that. And all it does to me is validate what I said. I say it in old man terms, so things that everybody can understand. They say it in physics terms. You know what I mean? So as long as people are learning, I just don't care.
Yeah, but I'm in a situation to where, not to be mean, but I'm not retired. I got to hustle. I got to know how to make money. Okay? And I've got things going on in the background that are difficult. You know, so everybody has different situations. And what I'm trying to do is disclose it, but all it takes is people to just give credit. Like, we were talking about engineers and physicists. And engineers, in my opinion, win. But the physicists, whenever they go into research, they'll reference people. And there's no reference with them. And all we need is just be like, look, this engineer knows what's up. You know, and just like physicists do that. You got to give some credit, you know what I mean? And you can't pretend like you just came up with it out of the ether. Just give some credit is all you got to do. So reference. We're not asking for anything other than credit, reference.
No,
but we know that this channel is making waves, you know, but they don't give credit to Gerald. They don't give credit to Sean. They don't give credit to you. You know what I mean? I just feel like, why even disclose any further? Because I have so much to disclose, but it's just going to be taken. And no, you know, they're going to pretend like they came.
Well, look, if you got a patent and you want to protect it, then don't disclose it. I mean, until you have everything figured out or everything done, don't disclose it. I mean, look, I'm the first one to disclose everything. But if it's your secret, then it's your secret, and I won't disclose that. So if you need to make money and take care of your family, then do it. What I'm saying is, you know, there's nothing stopping you from disclosing a Tesla patent because it's already out there. People just don't know how to read it.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's already, like, legally with the patent. I know where to go after the electrostatic motor, you know, because I've been studying this for a long time. And that's why I think Paul's disclosure was important, because he discussed similar things with barium titanate and electrodes on crystal cells that, you know, I agree with, because I've been doing the study, and those documents were a big disclosure. If you like pause the screen and read it, you're like, ah, man. John Hutchinson was smart. And when he said, because I was a little skeptical back in the past when there was a floating thing, it was given by, I don't think I should say his name, but his first name is Robert. And he disproved it with a string on a craft. But what he was saying is that string was actually highly charged. And he was just like doing tests. And that's one segment that they picked out of all of it to try to disprove it, you know. But he was just like hanging it from a string with a high charge. I would do that to test. I mean, he's not saying it's levitating. He's just hanging it and testing. But they took it as he was trying to fake it levitate, because, you know, he's applying a high voltage to it, and it makes absolute sense.
I would never do that, by the way. Let me just say this, and I've had people comment on my channel all the time. Why don't you take the gravity flyer, put it on a string? Because of a-holes like that. And let's just be clear about it, because that's all they'll do. So I have no patience for those people. Those people out there that do that. I comment back to them. I just tell them zoom zoom. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're a troll and you need to leave me alone. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look, I get them every week. Anytime I show a Graphine Flyer video, I get it. So
Yeah.
imagine if I put a string on that thing, then where's your disclosure at the end when it lifts? Where's the proof? Because you don't have it now. So I would never do that.
They're actually kind of boosting it, because then people get interested and see, like, okay, that was like a 15-second clip out of a 2-hour video that John Hutchinson did. And they're going to just ironically take this clip and say something that he wasn't doing. You know what I mean? So I don't fall for it. And I don't think the majority of people fall for it. They're smart enough to think for themselves and realize, you know, sometimes psychology is used against you, you know, but just use common sense, you know. Hutchinson was real.
Well, of course he's real. Only the people who are stuck in the mainstream sack think he's not. So I'll be honest with you, man. The dude's real, 100%. So
why would he be hit up with like Navy letters? You know what I mean? Like, he was hit up with the Navy, like, oh, so what you got here?
Yeah, I mean, look at the people he's showing it to. I mean, you don't walk in there with a bunch of strings, do you? I mean,
why would I pick up a bunch of Navy papers?
Yeah, let me go to the Navy with my marionette. Let's, you know what I mean? That's ridiculous. Come on now. You know he got it. And you know what? The fact that they keep getting different people, you know, all the time that came and asked him to show it, told you he had it. He absolutely had it, because they would have got the reference on the first time if it was wrong, and nobody would have asked, but everybody continued to. So he has it. There's no question.
Yeah. I wish, John, if you're watching this, dude, I wish you would start pumping out that stuff again. I know you know it, though.
You can't.
Like,
look, the way this world works, as soon as you show that, it's your life in your hands.
Is he under an order not to say, you think?
Oh, I'm sure he is. I mean, if you're disclosing this to the government, you're getting one of those.
I'll say it eventually, but I see why he can't say it now.
Yeah, you're getting DOD putting his foot down, and you're not getting it out.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's right to disclose it at the right time, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're on a good pace to do that, but like I said, without credit, there's no ambition for inventors to disclose it, because I could go secret patent, you know, easily. My goal is to help humanity and not go into the secret. You know, I've got things to share to everybody, you know, but all it takes is a little credit every here and there. That's all you gotta do, is give a shout out, and then people will start disclosing, and they'll have it on record, you know. And we're about there. We're so close. You know it, Nathan. We're so close to disclosing some stuff, but we understand too how Hutchinson may not be able to say certain things.
Yeah, you know, Ken with the magnets. He basically wrote a book and put it online for free so they couldn't take his work. I found that absolutely hilarious.
It's censorship.
Well, it's like, dude, he's like, I'm getting my point across whether I get paid for it or not. So you can stick it. And I love that attitude. You know what I mean? Disclose it, get it out there, make sure you prove it's yours. Totally awesome.
I want nothing other than to disclose, but to disclose and have it ripped off by higher channels, not given any credit, it makes you feel like, why should I? Like Gerald Pius is like, why should I? Because every time I do this, there's no credit given. I might as well go secret, but I don't want to. My heart says to just disclose it, but I know too that it's not the right time to disclose everything. I gotta have something of it. You know what I mean?
Hold on, but you have to disclose it when you disclose it. You can't just go on one channel. It's up to you to go on every channel that will take you, no matter how small or how big they are, and get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll just tell you, we looked at that airplane video, and the guy that disclosed that, man, he's all over the damn place. You know what I mean? And how it disappeared and everything like that. He flat out came out with it. So, I mean, shout out to him, but it's all over the place. So if you want to disclose, that's how you got to do it. You know what I mean? Anybody that'll take you got to get it out there when you're ready. But if you're not ready, you know what I mean, then don't. But yeah, get it out there as many people as you can.
Sometimes capitalism isn't that bad, though. In order for me to survive, I have to make, like Joe said it, like, do you decide ramen noodles one day to eat, or do you decide against something else? And sometimes people are put in that position in real life. You know, so everybody's situation is different, and to me, a patent made sense to get it out, you know, not for money, but for documentation, like Tesla did. He died broke. He didn't do it for the money, but he left a good record through the patent system, and that's all I'm trying to do is just put it on the record, and it's been on the record. You know what I mean? All we got to do is timestamp and see these people parroting what we're saying with electric-driven static motors. All you need is an electric on two sides, and you got a static motor, and that's what I was saying. You know, it's all on record, so it doesn't matter. It's almost feels good that they're doing that, because Robert is one of my favorite builders. Robert's a great guy, but
Yeah, Robert in England?
no, Robert Murray Smith.
Robert Murray, yeah. That's what I was talking about. Is he in England or is he in Ireland, or where is that?
I'm not sure. Sounds England. I think.
I thought he was English. I could be mistaken.
But I love it. I love that he's doing an electrostatic motor that has electrics. You know what I mean? It's like one of the first things you should realize, like how easy it is to just run a motor with electrics instead of magnets. Like,
yeah,
you can do a magnet, but you have to gate it and everything, because, you know, that's been Dini and all that path. But if you just had electrics, you can literally just spin it very easily. And I said all you need is a positive and negative, and just rotate it in a mason jar, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's taken the concept, and I love it, because we've discussed that. So in a way, he's helping us, but in a way, I wish that he would say, look, this channel gave me the inspiration to try this, because that's where it's going. And 99% of the people still don't understand what the fuck an electrode is.
Well, like I said, once it's out there, I mean, he's not the first to run one of those motors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everybody puts it out.
Yeah, I love it. That's a disclosure that's gonna be important. You know what I mean? And I'm not angry about it, because I love Robert. I love him, man. Like, Robert is one of the best. And I'm gracious that he's doing it, but at the same time, he could do it better the way you, me, and Sean have on our methods of electrics, you know, high charge density electrics. So it's going to advance to that, you know what I mean? Because I've seen it go out and it's good, but whenever you want it optimized, you want two poles, you want a positive and negative, at least. Yeah, separate them out, because you could go like this and just get huge voltage just from a positive and negative one if you had two panels and just went like this, like Mike Faraday showed on that show, because it's two potentials that you're rapidly spreading. You could make a huge arc just by doing, like, bringing two positives and negatives together and rapidly opening it. You would get huge spark, because the potential, but just trust me, the charge stays constant, so the potential goes huge when we separate them really quickly. If you had two oppositely charged electrodes in two plates, like a capacitor, and went like this, you can get a huge spark off that. And that's all it takes, you know. And electrodes are different from magnets, so people have to understand the difference. everybody's used a magnet. It's like a magnet, but it ain't a magnet.
No, I understand.
It's hard to see what it can go into, but I see him doing this is just honorable because at least he sees that this could be a demonstration, and I'm not making claims of something without a power source that just sits there and rotates and make people think like, wait, there's no power source and it's just sitting there and rotating. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Jarvis. Once it's out there, once you guys get it done, every channel's going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't stamp "I told you so" on every forehead. So
no, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's on record. You know what I mean? It's on record. So. I got the patent.
Well, there you go. That's the way that. I mean, you already have it. You already have documentation saying it was you, so that works out.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. But all you got to do is mention my name, because if you try to sell it, I can go into a legal battle. But I want you to make it for free. I want you to know how to learn how to make these things for free, because all you got to do is make it for free. And legally, if you try to market it and sell it, then I would take my patent and say, look, you got to chill out. If you want to market and sell it, we can do a license. You know what I mean? We can license it out. But if you're wanting to make it for free, do it. There's nothing legally that stops you from doing that. And I want you to do that. And Robert is doing that. I've already said his name, so it's going to trigger the AI. But Robert Murray Smith is a great engineer. And he's working on an electrostatic motor, which was given in Jeff Minko's book that I showed a little while back. Well, I didn't show it, but Jeff Minko, he has GEM equations, which are gravido-electromagnetic equations that match the way I see things. And Jeff Minko is really just, so Robert did reference Jeff Minko. But yeah, Jeff Minko had it down. Well,
let me just tell you this, Jarvis, okay? If I wanted to get the word out there, I would simply find Ashton Forbes' email, and I would show him proof of concept, and then let him disclose everything. I don't know of a person out there that has a bigger mouth to get something out than that guy. And he is relentless in doing it. So if you want it out, get a presentation together and go on, a channel like his, which is big, and blast it out everywhere.
Because honest to God, I want Sean to be the first to make a monopolar electrode. I think that's going to be important for historical achievement. And I think Sean's the person that deserves the credit for that, because he's been working on this, and I want him to be the first person to make that. Because nobody even knows electrodes, and then you get into monopolar electrodes, and people are just like, I never heard of that. You know what I mean? So it's on a different level, and I want Sean to have the credit of being the first person to make that. He deserves it. He's the best partner. I searched. Once I wrote it, and like I'm saying, I could just write secret patents, but I don't want to do that. I'm trying to disclose it the right way. And a patent is not that bad. It gets people interested, I'm not using the patent to make money. I'm telling you to do it, and we're going to teach you how to do it yourself. Maybe a manufacturer can get it into super electrics, like we got huge magnetic fields, and then we can get money off of marketing or manufacturing. But at this point, people should just understand what the fucking electrode is, and what a monopolar electrode is, and why you can have a monopolar electrode and not a magnet. And it gets you thinking on the level where you need to go for charge separation easily and stuff. Like I said, when Robert Murray Smith does this and he makes electrodes that drive like an atmo motor, an atmosphere motor type thing, but it doesn't have to be that complex. But once that happens, that's going to be the wake up moment where people are like, it's that easy to use materials to make something spin for free. Instead of getting a huge potential from the sky and the ground, you got a huge potential of a positive and negative monopole. And you can control the distance of those, so that those monopoles are going to be the next understanding, because magnets are always bipolar, but you can have a positive and negative. Like I said, you can separate it for a huge spark gap. Once those exist, the world's going to be a little bit different, And all you need is two of them to run a little electrostatic motor, once you realize that. But we have been discussing that. But it's going to be a key moment, I believe. When that happens, people are going to be like, okay, there's no power source, but this is spinning. That's going to get them thinking. And like you said, the air really matters. Use the air. Why not? Use the air to your advantage.
No, honestly, I don't think anybody's denying the merits of what you're saying and how things should be used. You're saying in one hand that, your situation and stuff and the money, and then on the next hand, you want to disclose it. So I think it's more of a personal decision at this point of what you want to go and which direction you want to go with it, and then just do it. And do it full blast.
I want to disclose it slowly, though. I can't do it full blast. I just can't. My life can't permit that. I would like to be able to do that if I could, honest to God. But my life is not geared for that at this moment, And I feel like a lot of inventors and chat people feel the same way, We want to get out, but it takes me so much background stuff to even get to this point, I love Sean so much, that I wanted to fill his spot because he's such a good partner. He's a good guy. But I just try to fill it. Like, I'll go back to my notepad real quick to see what I forgot to say. Yeah, okay, this was interesting. I was thinking, what if, because it's hard for me on the sulfur because of dehydration. So I was thinking, let me go back to diatomaceous earth, which is silicon dioxide. But it's like a living organism. It's a very interesting substance. What if I took a plastic bag and rubbed them, like if I had gloves, and just took a bag and just rubbed them to get the friction onto the bag? And then once they're stuck to the bag from the adhesion, I flip the bag upside down and brush them into the mold, and then test separate aggregates. I'm trying to figure out what the best method of pre-charging the aggregate is. Like a Ziploc bag sounds like a cool idea. You know what I mean? And then, like, once they're stuck to it, I flip it inside out and brush it into the mold, and add the aggregate and charge it. That's kind of a cool, like, we're talking about tumbling. Sean's doing a tumbler, which is cool. I'm trying to think of, like, at home, what you could do to easily just charge these aggregates. Just like flip it out. Wow, you got it. Charge it up. Boom, you got an electric. What shape you going for? That matters. You going for a cone? You going for a pyramid? You going for a sphere? You going for a rod?
Well, to be honest with you, once you have the charge, it's about a fast set. So you basically would be better off injection molding it at that point and freezing it in place.
But you can have one charge, right? Isn't that cool? You can.
Yeah, I'm not denying which charge you want. I mean, just pick the one you want and put it on there. But I'm saying you have to freeze it real quick. It has to be in solid state fast in order to make it work. Otherwise, you'll start losing over time the energy.
Perhaps. I mean, Sean has said that the slower it cures, the better, because the electric field can align the molecules better during that time. If you quickly do it, it may not align. It all depends. It's really on, doing it and seeing. But I agree with you. I want to try a fast freeze. Like, what if we did it and then we put it in a freezer and see what happened? Like, we quickly froze it, but it's still pre-charged aggregate, and then you quickly froze it while charging. That'd be cool.
Yeah, freezer's not fast. I can tell you that. That takes a while.
Yeah, but it'd be faster than like leaving it in open air and charging it. You could compare open air versus.
Okay. Interesting. Sorry, you cut out right there, Jarvis. What were you saying?
You were saying a quick set would be good.
Yes.
I think hot glue would be fun to try with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I mean, it's not going to stay together all that well, so you might as well just use the beeswax and then set it. I mean, it's not terribly difficult to make a continuous charge on something to get, one side of it. It's the set that's the problem. But then again, we think of that and you might be going in the wrong direction in a way. You may just need to prove that it's electrically conductive while it's rotating. That it may not even need to be set. It's just the fact that it continuously rotates. So if you're putting it in a cylinder and you want to, to get electricity off of it, you simply continue to rotate it and pull the energy off. That's all it would really take. You don't need to set it. You know what I mean? Electrics are nice to get to the next level, but there's also a process for the other way as well.
I think that's one of the steps that I'm trying to say to be cautious of, but you're absolutely right, and I'm going to admit it because it should be disclosed. But yeah, once you get, like, Sean ordered me discs because my card had some fraudulent charges, and I don't have a card right now. I lost my membership to your channel. I'm like, But whenever Sean ordered me Petri dishes because Petri dishes are a good starting point to go. Not necessarily spheres and cones and stuff. We'll get there. But a little Petri dish, and that's what I want to start with. And that would make a small dish that I could spin with a motor and study if it has a magnetic field, because in theory, those charges on the outside of that spinning, highly charged, will produce a magnetic field just from it spinning, And I could take like a nickel spray and make it field. Am I out?
Go ahead. The last part I didn't hear it. You said after a nickel spray?
Yeah, once you get an electric disc and you nickel spray it to make it conductive and you spin it, it's going to be like like the Faraday disc. Because when you spin a charge, it makes a magnetic field. And it's a disc that you're spinning, highly charged already because it's an electric. And because it's spinning, it's going to produce a magnetic field because those charges are in motion along the outside of the disc. So just by spinning a disc is really the next step. And you cracked that, but that's where I would go after this. There's things that I can't discuss as well. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, if you spin a disc and keep the high voltage off of it, the disc will become very charged. And then inside that, if you kind of rotate them, you can get a very high capacitance.
Yeah.
If you don't put any plate in between them, just keep the two, and they kind of rotate. And as long as you can clean up the edges and then spray it with a clear material or something, or anything that will basically stop the sparks, that amount of energy in there is massive. So, yeah, if you can freeze form it right there, then you'd be all right. You know what I mean? If you only wanted one charge on it, you just run the motors the same way and put the same high voltage field on top and bottom, and then have the stuff in the center. So,
see, what I'm thinking is the first electrics I make are not going to be impressive, but they're going to be proof of concept to me. You know what I mean? They're not going to be what I call super electrics, where you just got something sitting there like a Van de Graaff machine that's literally pulling your hair, and it's like a ball just sitting there and pulling your hair. That'd be a super electric. That'll get there, but right now just interested in small electric, to get to that, But I want to take it slow. I want to make a candle, just a positive or a negatively charged candle. It's hard to find the negative charge though, because like I said, sulfur, you don't want to make a candle out of sulfur. Teflon, you don't want to make a candle out of Teflon. So for the negative, I was thinking, because negative is good. Like when you have a beeswax candle and you light it, it's more of a negative discharge that comes off of that, just because of the negative charge of the beeswax. So what I'm going to do is use flour, and the flour, when I try to electrically charge it, will give me the aggregate for the beeswax. So it'd be a negatively charged candle that just sits there and lets out negative ions throughout the room. UV light assisted would just kill all bacteria around. It's just a candle that sits there and puts out negative ions to make dust, fungi. No health topics, so.
Well, that should be fairly easy. It's a real fast set on the wax.
Yeah, so that's the tricky part with the negative, and I think flour is a good negative. Like I was saying, like nobody wants sulfur as a negative. That'd be like, why would you make a sulfur candle? You know what I mean? But on the negative scale, like what do you choose? Teflon, PVC? No. And that's why 8th was right, like with butt plug. Like what would you want to, and I'm thinking flour might be that with beeswax. Flour and beeswax might be a good negative. That's my composite that I want to throw out to 8th, you know what I mean? Because it is tricky to choose. Yeah, you don't want microplastics shit going up your ass. So
okay.
Flour is okay though.
Got it. Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it, I guess. You just got to find the right material and then exactly how you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but beeswax alone, when you light it, it has negative ions that will neutralize dust and stuff. Just with beeswax, it's really cool stuff.
Right on, man. Well, it sounds like you got it all figured out with Sean. But by the way, Sean's one of the coolest guys ever. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, he's my bro, man. He's my bro. He's a good guy. I don't know. Sean's just a perfect partner to work with. Like I said, I was debating. I didn't want to say his name, but he's making a motor right now. And I was like, dang it. But the patent still is documented, so it's encouraging to see other people work on it. And we don't need credit. I mean, it's nice to have credit, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and disclose, but it's got to be on my pace. I can't just disclose everything. I mean,
no, do what you got to do, man. We're all here for you. You know what I mean?
But you see one of the next stages with the spinning electrics. Spinning electrics is going to get interesting. That's like...
I already know what they're used for. That's why.
T.G. Brown type stuff. You know what I mean? So you get it. But, hey, I've thought about the next step after that too,
Yeah.
It's cool. It just takes time.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. I just throw it out there. There's only so long that I can do experiments before my body gives up. So I'm going to do all that I can, show all that I can, and let everybody sort it out later. And, it is what it is. So, but that's just me, man. I don't see any reason. I'm not Tesla. I didn't make this stuff. I just replicated it. You know what I mean? Somebody else made the device I'm working on now. I'm just, building it the right way. And, there's a lot of people out there that did that. And I don't feel right patenting anything, man. This came before us. This is like, Atlantis type of stuff. They they already figured it all out, and I just feel stupid going down and trying to patent something that they already have. It's like, dude, why do I get credit for it? Because I reinvented their wheel? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Like the ring stick, I gotta get my phone, but the ring stick, right? Shaka. Like the Moroccan that Liz was talking about, that shaking, shaka. Like, why would they call it a rain stick? Because it attracted, it was negatively charged. You know, like, a rain stick actually, like, could make the clouds get, you know what I mean? So all those things, I agree. It's all already been discovered, but it takes, like, a matter of record, in my opinion. You know?
No, go for it, man.
I'm not doing it for the riches. Like I said, Tesla guy broke. I'm just doing it as like a manual.
No, I get it. Sorry, guys. I haven't been putting up a lot of chat. I'm trying to keep myself in the conversation here. Yeah, for me, disclosure is the way to go, man. Get it out there as fast as you possibly can. Let these, let these people talk about it. Let them build it. Let them see what it does. You know, I passed up $1 million ideas already, man, and I don't need one of them. And it doesn't have anything to do with my situation. It's simply I just don't care. You know what I mean? And I'm at that point, man, where it just needs to get out. I just do not care. You know what I mean?
I wish I was in a retirement situation, but I'm just not. You know, my situation is different. That's why it's a little bit of a different strategy that I have to do. Like I said, if I didn't have people that believe in me and a partner like Sean, I would rip that patent. I'm not in it for the money. You know what I mean? I just want you to know that just because I got a patent doesn't mean, you know, so it's good to be retired, but you got to hustle when you're not. You got to know.
No, okay, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth here. You're talking about hustling, which means you got to make some money, but you're not looking to make money off the patent. So, I mean, kind of which is it?
It's both because, like, I'm not retired, so I have to hustle. I mean, I can't just not make money. I have to make money.
Well, then say that. Then that's where you're at with it. You need to make a little money off the patent, which is absolutely fine.
So that's the strategy. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
when it comes to the long game, it's just going to be disclosed because just because I have the patent doesn't mean that you can't make it. And I'm telling you how to make it. And Sean has been a brilliant demonstrator of the process. You know, so just because you have a patent doesn't mean you're in it for the money. I'm trying to disclose it the way that I have to strategically in order to
then just say it for what it is. You and Sean have teamed up. You've taken your patent. And when you have full build of concept, you're going to put it out there and make a little money off of it. That's cool. We can all live with that.
But the money is going to this community. I'm just saying,
Okay. Well, I mean, however you got to do it, man, you got to take care of your bills too. So if that's what you have to do, then by all means.
Right. Yeah. I'm all for the disclosure. It's going to happen. Everything's going to get disclosed, but it's got to be the right way, you know. I gotta provide for my family somehow.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not arguing with you on that one, man. If you got to keep it for yourself for a little while, do it. I mean, disclose other things, like I said. You know what I mean? Things that would teach people how to build things, though. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Provide a resource for them to get smarter in this and go the right direction. I mean, one of the reasons that I don't disclose what I do is, like I told you, Tesla's already done it. And if you read his papers, you know he's already done it. And it's the fact that they didn't read it or didn't understand it or didn't build it to see it. They don't understand why. And I keep trying to explain the uses of it, and they look at it, it's an insignificant force. Well, one is, yes, but then I take two more insignificant forces and I have a tremendous force. And that's what you're not paying attention to. It's like one laser sucks. Give me three. Watch what I can do to it, right? You know what I mean?
Like Jared's going there.
Yeah,
But
but just understand this. If you don't understand resonance and you want to create propulsion based on thrust, you know what I mean, of directed energy, you better go back to school and learn what resonance and rings and stuff like that are in order to figure it out. But Tesla teaches you all that. He
yeah,
basically is telling you that the whole future is based on that simple crystal understanding the oxygen and how each frequency works in a pattern. Once you have it, you have it. Getting people to understand that, not focus on one frequency alone, is the hardest thing in the world to do. Because I can say it until I'm blue in the face. They still don't get it. It's the ring. It's the different frequencies combined to make the right thing and then ring it for an extraordinary amount of time. That's as simple as it gets, man. But
may I show a patent that's
yeah,
like
show whatever you want, man.
it comes off of Tesla. And, Benitez was like a follower of Tesla, and like I said, Tesla didn't even have a diode, right? And so Carlos Benitez, had a patent. If I can find it real quick.
Real quick before we get there, while you're pulling it up, yeah, it says Tesla did not invent high voltage transformer; he perfected it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty much like Steinmetz perfected everybody's work before him. I mean, they all kind of fall on the same line of everything.
yeah,
True scientific discovery is let me see it, let me show it, let other people do it, see what they see. And I think most inventors that we idolize have done the same exact thing. They build on each other's legacies. And that's why you get some that are seen more often than the others because their work was so important. You got that file?
do you see it? Is it there? This is the Benitez patent after Tesla. Can you see it?
It's kind of small. Go ahead, though.
He puts the formulas here of the bell that you're talking about, of how to convert that bell back
Can you
into.
zoom in just a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. I'll just read it for a second. Be
Okay.
obtained under certain conditions 1,000 discharges per second. Therefore, the quantity of electricity that must be stored by said capacitor can be determined by the following consideration. Suppose that the impedance of the oscillating circuit is equal to 15 ohms. As the current that should be maintained in said circuit must be equal to 40 amps, that 40 amps is what's being drawn by the primary battery. The required voltage to develop such current will be equal to 40 amps times 15 ohms equals 600 volts. You have to double it. But in order to produce 600 volts by the discharge of the condenser, it is necessary to get the primary charge to 1200 volts. Since the average potential during the discharge is V over 2 volts. In consequence, V over 2 equals 1600, so you have to have 1200 volts in order to get 1600 volts off a discharge of the capacitor. If the energy produced by the secondary of the transformer is assumed equal to 320 watts, the voltage required for the charge of the capacitor should be 1200 volts. The current delivered by said secondary will be equal to the current C over the power and voltage, which is 320 watts over 1200 volts. So the secondary goes 0.7 or 67 amps. On the other hand, as the frequency of the alternator has been emitted equal to 1,000, so the alternator is given a kilohertz. In 1,000th of a second, said secondary will deliver to the condenser capacitor 267 microcoulombs. Hence, the capacity of said condenser must be capacitor adjusted to source such quantity of electricity, and as its value can be determined by the following formula, which is the charge, the capacity, and voltage. The charge is equal to the capacity and voltage, and the charge is a conservative quantity, in which K is the capacity of the condenser in microfarads, where Q is given in microcoulombs, and V is the maximum voltage. Therefore, by transposition, the capacitance
Man, did you freeze completely?
Am I here?
Yeah, you're here now. Go ahead.
So you would need 0.222 microfarads as a capacitance to get the 40 amps that's drawn from the battery at a 1,000 hertz alternator. You would tune it to 0.222 microfarads. And he tells you the capacitance. So off the 1,000 hertz he's giving you as an alternator, and the relationships, he tells you how to get the capacitance, get the amperage of 40 to match on another battery bank. But you can do it with capacitors too. On the other hand, it is well known that if it is desired to produce an oscillatory discharge through a circuit, the capacity, resistance, and inductance of said circuit must be arranged in such a manner that the value given by the following equation, square root of the frequency and the inductance in microhenries over the capacitance, be greater than the resistance of the circuit. And I said before, all you really want is for the resistance squared to be less than 4L over C, and you satisfy an oscillatory discharge. By substituting, you can get the inductance, which is 0.0222 millihenries, or equal to, they used to use length, and I'll just stick with henries because people don't know how to convert to length. Now, it is possible to determine the number of oscillations per second that can be obtained in such circuit, whose value is given by the following formula. The number of oscillations is equal to this constant over the square root of the inductance times the capacitance. All right, the number, when you plug it in, is 71,900 oscillations, say 72,000 oscillations per discharge per second, or 72 oscillations in each spark, since we have assumed that there are produced 1,000 sparks per second, right? So you take this and divide it by 1,000. The current strength developed by the means of
Man, you froze again.
drawn from the primary battery in order to charge your backup battery or capacitor bank, which gives the value of current in terms of the impressed electromotive force, voltage, and ohmic resistance of the circuit R, and the inductance L in henries, and the capacitance K in farads. Frequency was more the number, like I said, the frequency is 71,900, right? But you divide by that by 1,000 to get the number of oscillations, which is N. And he shows that, you get 40 amperes out. So you have to follow this procedure, and he gives you the formulas to do it. You know what I mean? So just read this and follow the formulas, and you'll get 40 amps out to charge your battery. It's really a frequency relationship, but there's two frequencies. There's 1,000 hertz from the alternator, and then there's the spark frequency of 71,900 oscillations. Right? So you divide it by 1,000, and you get 72 oscillations every time it sparks, approximately. That's how you gain your current back. I think that's
So hold on. All he basically said right there and all that math is you lower the frequency and it becomes current.
Well, he was increasing the frequency for current. He was using an alternator to get 1,000, right? And then off
You
the
said divide
secondary,
by 1,000, though. You said divide by 1,000.
yeah, because the alternator is providing a 1,000 hertz to a secondary coil. Okay, the secondary coil is vibrating at 72,000 hertz off the 1,000. So the slow frequency is the 1,000 produced by the alternator.
And you got it down to 72.
No, 72,000. 72,000. Yeah. But there's 72 sparks per, or there's 72 oscillations per spark because you have a 1,000 hertz alternator.
So he slowed down the duty cycle.
Well, he's increasing the frequency in order to get the current in that situation. Look at Tesla's the patent that I just put with 2 spark gaps. But so what he's doing is he's calculating the amount of current off the primary battery, and he's developing a formula to get that current back through a bell. Okay, so he's using the bell, so he's running a primary circuit off a battery and using the formulas of the bell in order to recuperate the 40 amps. Because let me find the quote. Real quick. I gotta find it. But the quote in that patent, I can't find it right now, but it's like 1,000 gallons of water being shuffled to a different container at a gallon per second instead of a different rate. So you can recuperate the amperage just by, let me find it. I gotta find it.
Is all he's doing is converting volts to amps? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much it's a conversion. Just like I said, you want to boost convert and then you want to buck convert for current.
Now, is he separating the 2 circuits, or are they one circuit in the same?
No, there's 2 circuits. It's like a clapper and a bell. You got a slow frequency clapper, but you got the bell that's specifically designed off the RLC. You can't really change the dimensions of the bell, but you can change the clapper frequency by how you shake it. And that slow frequency of the clapper, if it's in resonance with the bell, will produce these effects where you gain the current back and you can put it into a capacitor or a battery bank.
No, I understand how to gain current back. What I'm asking is he trying to put 2 systems into one at the end in order to give him a higher current and a high voltage?
Yeah.
Because let me just explain this. The frequency when you want amps will go down. Okay, it has to.
No,
you have to slow it down to impede it in order to get the amps.
I don't agree so much. It's more of a relationship between the inductance and resistance. If that is high, you don't draw much amperage from the battery on a slow intro.
Are you saying the amount's pulled in or the amount that's delivered in the end?
The more the ratio of the inductance on the first path divided by the resistance, the less current you're going to draw. It's counterintuitive. It's you draw milliamps, but it's stored. You know what I mean? It's the time. You don't necessarily. You actually draw more current if you were to just charge a capacitor, like from a battery. You're going to draw a huge amount of current just to charge that capacitor because it's basically a short circuit on it first. But if you charge that capacitor through high inductance versus low resistance, and you let it go, and you're just patient and let it go, you get double the voltage on the capacitor, and it's a slow rate, and it's very little current draw. It's the most efficient way to do it. I wish I could find it.
I don't need it. I just need a kind of a straight answer, because when you're talking about ringing a bell, you have to ring a bell very slowly, and that means a very high current. And you're not going to ring it real fast at a real fast oscillation, that's for sure. Then you're not going to get high current out of it. You're going to get high voltage.
look at the simulation that I had on that video. You draw less current putting it through an inductor than you would just charging a capacitor straight up. You
Right.
actually,
It's a conversion. You draw a lot, but I'm saying at the end, you're going to get a higher voltage, not a higher amperage, unless you slow it down.
yeah, but you're drawing less current by putting it through an inductor first. An inductor with low resistance, you're drawing very low current. Like, it's weird. If the inductor were high resistance, you'd actually draw more current. It's a very counterintuitive thing. You want the ratio between the inductance and resistance to be as
Well, you
high.
don't need a super high current to get high voltage.
Well, you'll draw milliamps in the situation of it being what I'm saying compared to a high resistance coil. You're going to draw more, and it's counterintuitive. You're going to actually draw more current if the inductor is a higher resistance than it is if it's a low resistance. It's counterintuitive, but that's the way it is. I can show you, I mean, on the simulation in that video, like it shows. I want to find this quote though. I can't find it. I'm so sorry. I just can't find this quote in the patent. But basically what Benitez was doing was, am I in present? I'm not, right?
Okay, what are you running it into first?
A low inductance or a high inductance, low resistance is what you want to run it through first. You can use a motor, you can use a coil of coax, you can use aluminum foil wrapped around a PVC pipe for that. But that's what you want to do on the first stage. You draw less current by doing that, and it's counterintuitive.
You're creating a bit.
You're pulling the mousetrap back on that.
No, yeah, hold on. Are you saying that you're just oscillating the two and it can't tell when the energy is pulled out of it so that it uses less?
No, I'm saying on the first stage, if it were to go through a 50-foot roll of aluminum foil insulated with plastic wrap, it takes half a second for that magnetic field to actually build. And as it does that, it draws less current than if it were a higher resistance. But what you're doing is you're making that magnetic field, you're opening the circuit, and like a ram pump, it wants to go. It's going to collapse. And you get your negative resistance from the collapse. Just like a mousetrap, and you let it go, it's gonna go. It's gonna be a different rate, and you're gonna get a higher output. You might as well bell that output so that you can utilize it with resonance, because you're gonna get a higher output, and you might as well resonate it in order to get the best advantage of that. But it needs to be a loose couple. It does, like a lot of people will wind their transformer tightly, you know, but it needs to be a loose coupling in order to do it like Tesla's doing it. It was a loose coupling transformer. And he would do the spiral coil because on the outside you have the loosest coupling. He said that was the best design because like you're getting a loose coupling no matter what, because it's just going to go into the center compared to the outside primary. That's the best design for that, is a pancake. You use like maybe 3 lines on the outside and you'll get a loose couple transformer like that. So that's the best design he recommended for a loosely coupled transformer.
Gotcha. Okay.
I know it's kind of confusing.
No, not really. I think we're having a problem with understanding where each other's at. That's what I think going on here. Because as soon as you put it through the Tesla coil, we already know that you're getting high voltage, low amps. When you put it through the first part, is what we're talking about, which is a bit, you're basically mirroring what's going on. So you have a whole different side that does not see the other side. It pulses in quickly, it pulls out quickly, so it doesn't know that the load is gone. It thinks it's always there. Then you can use that and transfer that into your high current. That's not a problem. You know what I mean? It's just a communication thing. It's fairly easy. The only problem I had was when you get to the end, did you put the high voltage with the high current? Because it's going to blend once you do. So your frequency would go down in order to get, a high voltage and a higher current. It has to. It doesn't have a choice. It's going to create, because once you convert it on the end, the very last part, you know what I mean? When it goes out, it's going to be, a lower voltage and higher amperage in the end.
Yeah, you got to convert it. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to know what the load is, and then you use the bell to recuperate that. Because you can do it with the bell, so you want to run the load in the first stage. And people think you want to run the load down the stage, but you want to run the load at the first stage. And the best load to run is a motor or a high inductive load, because you're getting work out of it for free. And then down the bell line, you recuperate that load. The bell is to recuperate it.
Right. It's the one you shove into your capacitors, and that's the free.
Just read that patent. It'll tell you how to recuperate your amps. Really what you're worried about on the first stage is how many amps it's drawing to run the load, and to periodically open it for the bell. And that patent tells you how to get the capacitance based off of a certain frequency. It's good. Benitez, like, he just laid the formula down. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you really want to understand the next stage of Tesla, Benitez did it. And he was still in an age where you didn't have diodes. You had to use pulsonars as diodes, We have diodes. So it should be a shame if we couldn't do it easier. He was doing it with pulsonars. But he showed how to do it. He showed the progression of what you need to do is say, okay, I got 40 amps draw on the primary. And Tesla called that the charging circuit, but it's usually an inductive motor or something off the primary. And then you take the current and you figure out the capacity of an oscillator. He was using an alternator at 1,000 hertz as an example, but you can make that frequency whatever you want, and you can recuperate the amps because it's pumping it faster. It's just pumping it at a higher rate. So you recuperate the amps down the line for whatever load you're running on the first, because it's belling it and it's in resonance, and you can recoup it. But it is specific to the load on the first, So the tuning would need to be slightly adjusted as the voltage of the primary goes down. The AI or whatever can do that. But you're basically bouncing batteries or capacitors. But you're draining one, using it and loading another, and then swapping them and draining one, loading another, and swapping it. That's what that system is. But it gives you the formulas to understand how to recoup the current, because a lot of people don't know, okay, my power supply is drawing 5 currents. How do I get 5 currents back into some storage? That will show you how to do it. And that's why I say it's a good next step if you're really interested in this stuff, to study that pattern.
Gotcha. Look, I use my my rodent call as a bit. So what I do is I put the energy right into it, match the frequency to the coil. I'm able to pull a higher amount in there so it stays saturated more. Then I change the diode. So I got one side of the fast switching out of one of the legs of it. I got another slow switching out of the legs out of it. Put them together. They charge the capacitor, right? And they charge it with a heavy amount of amps in there and a heavy amount of charge. So you can split it. That's why I was asking you about, in the end, the conversion. Are you converting the caps together in the end? Because this is really fast.
This is one of the things I would like to talk about, but I can't. I just can't. I have to just dodge things like this. But I wish I could go into that conversation, but that's the NDA kind of thing. It's not even me. Like, I just can't. But you're so close. You just know I wouldn't waste my time with you if you weren't the man. You know what I mean? You're so close. I mean, you get it, but I just can't. I can't say anything about that.
Well, I think in the end, I could just do a spark gap on it and pull it. You know what I mean? As long as there's a good load on it, a draw, I can yank it right through there.
I wish I could say. I mean, a spark gap. Why not? You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? You spark gap both of them, and they Y off, and then they go and they load it. That's why there's 2 spark gaps in that patent.
All right, I will say one thing. You're right. Multiple spark gap is what I was trying to get at. That's the best way to convert a high voltage into a high current. And then I'll just say sometime in chat they mention a center electrode is grounded. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
The whole thing, let me just say this. From my experience in running this stuff, in order to get your high current, you have to create impedance. It has to create heat in a hot system. When you create the heat, you create the current. So just slowing something down, a little bit of a duty cycle, and it could be spark gap, it could be a basic duty cycle, could be a slow switching diode. Once you do that, you have impedance. Once you have impedance, your amps go up. The thing is, it slows it down because your oscillation rate has to come down. So that means your frequency is coming down in order to get the higher amps. So that's what is conventionally seen.
That's a weird thing I'm trying to relate to you, Nathan. It's counterintuitive. Actually, the higher the resistance of a coil, of an inductor, the quicker the current goes through it. It's counterintuitive.
I'll try it.
If you had a low resistance and high inductance, it takes a lot of time and it doesn't draw much. But if you have a high resistance and a high inductance, it's going to draw more current and it's going to take less time. It's very counterintuitive.
I've never seen a current with a high frequency ever.
It's AMS. It's the relationship between the inductance and resistance of a
unless you're pulling the cold side out of it, unless that's what you're saying you're doing, but you're not. So I've never seen it.
It's got it. I'll try to do like a little experiment to show you what I'm talking about. Like, it's counterintuitive. It's very counterintuitive. It took me a while to, grasp it, but it actually takes less time for a high resistance coil than it would for a low resistance coil. It's very counterintuitive.
Okay. If you say it's going to work that way,
I'll make a little experiment. Like, it's fun to learn the relationships.
I'll be honest with you, man. If you show me that frequency and it shows it low, and we got high amps, then you know what I mean. You better have something else than that, because I want to see the high frequency and the high amp, because I don't believe it exists. Not in the hot circuit.
It's written in the formula that I showed on that patent. I'm just saying, like, Benitez was the next step after that. It's not that hard, though. But you have to realize it's like a bell. You got a little clapper. You got a slow frequency, and then you got the bell that's just naturally built in. You can't really change it that much unless you have variable capacitors and stuff. But the bell is pretty much the bell. The bell's just going to ring like it does.
Okay, hold on. Let's go with what the bell is then, and let's define it. Is it a secondary coil as the bell?
Yeah, the secondary of a
Tesla coil. Is it the bell? It makes a big difference on what we're talking about here. Is that the bell, or is there something different?
Okay, Tesla called the first stage the working, or I'm sorry, the charging circuit, okay? Then he called the second a working circuit. The working circuit is what drove the secondary of the high voltage Tesla coil to oscillate very high frequency and high voltage. Okay, so the bell is really the second stage, because you want to time the opening and closing of the circuit.
Okay, please describe the bell.
So I showed in the video a very simple voltage doubler. And then the relay goes from this circuit to a completely different circuit to understand that it's a capacitor that's short-circuiting through the bell. That's the bell. It's just going to ring because it's a low resistance and a high, in a different circuit that has very low resistance, and that's the bell. That's like related to its inductance and capacitance. And then it goes back down, and the inductor comes up and charges the capacitor to twice its voltage to bell it again. And when it bells again, it's going to go through and come back, and go through and come back. The reason the transistor can't do that is because it can't open the source and it can't relay it into a different bell. And the bell is that. And the ratio between that opening and closing, like I said, it could be 60 hertz on this, but it could be, kilohertz on the bell. And the bell frequency is determined by its resistance, inductance, and capacitance. And once it's belling, what Tesla did is on the secondary, he used a quarter wavelength of the bell frequency to go into.
Is your bell a mirror? No, I don't mean literally a mirror. I'm saying, does it mirror the other side?
Yeah, you have to have if you run it at the wrong frequency, you'll get nothing. Or
right, that's why I'm asking this. Because I'm thinking you're talking about the number 2 coil as your bell, and you're not. You're talking about a whole different system. That's why I asked you. It's probably just a damn toroidal coil that wouldn't be much different than a jewel thief. It's basically like 22 windings on one side and 11, and then come out and 11 more, right? That's you're ringing it. That's what you're doing. You ring one side to get the other side to pull it off. So it's a mirror in the fact that it's mirroring it so that you can resonate it longer. It's a bit. That's what I've been saying. It's a total different system. We're not matching because we're not drawing it out. You made a bit. You could do it with motors. You could do it with all this other stuff. It's the same thing. And you could dump all the amps into a capacitor.
If you just ran it willy-nilly and you don't know what he was doing and it fails, you won't know the next step and you'll assume it's just a failure, but it's not. You have to tune.
No, because it's all about resonance.
Yeah, you have
the circuit only works on resonance.
You have to tune the clapper to the bell. And once you tune the clapper to the bell, then you go to the quarter wavelength.
Okay. Well, then now we're okay. Now I know what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah.
We're confused because I usually call the Tesla coil secondary the bell.
Right.
Hey, so you're thinking something different. You're building something different. That's all it is.
It's not. The secondary is down the line. The bell is the second stage. What he calls the first stage.
You basically made a mirror. That's what you did. You made a frequency mirror that basically ring one, it rings the other, and you can pull it out. You can take one and dump it off in the capacitors, use the other one, put it back in the circuit.
But it's best to use a variable frequency one because, like I said, if you did it off intuition and it didn't work, you would assume it doesn't work. But all you got to do is tweak the frequency of the bell and then use a quarter wavelength and you got it. You know what I mean? All it takes is, I like the pulse width modulator because it's frequency dependent and duty cycle dependent. So I can really control the relay speed. Sometimes I want the relay, and it's a mechanical opening.
Again, the duty cycle is impedance that creates amps. And the frequency, depending on where it is, it tells you how many amps are in your circuit.
Just watch the power wave.
There's a correlation between the two. We got lost on what the bell was. That's it.
Yeah,
volts and amps do not change on how they convert.
I agree. Yes. Just watch the video. You'll see the power wave. Like the power input is less than 10 watts.
I don't need the video. I can convert it now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, as just a visual representation, you'll see that I get 10 times more power out by belling it. But the bell goes into the secondary, and the secondary should be a quarter wavelength.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Instead of the bell, I use a rodent coil because I can get more energy out of it. You see, I'm not just pulling one wire out of it. I can pull multiple wires out of it. As long as that saturation rate's there, I have a super ringing bell, okay? It's ringing to this frequency of my Tesla coil, so I can convert it in that way with a different system in order to create it. That's all I'm saying.
Rodent coils are really cool. I love those geometries, and I think the ratios matter.
Oh, they do.
I've been talking to Ian about that. Ian,
You got to ring it right.
Ian's
it's about frequency, and you got to find what, how much impedance it has, what the rate is, things like that, and then calculate what you need to put into it. A lot of people don't do that, and they'll never get the over unity out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's why, like, it would be great to suggest that, but without them knowing how to do it, it could be a failure and discouragement. But if you're like, hey, for a specific load, this is the type of coil, the geometry that you would wind for this load, because they're dependent upon what your purpose is, you know what I mean? But just getting into it and winding your coil off just guessing, and you're like, I don't understand. It could work. You could be lucky. You could just wind one intuitively and be like, hey, you're like, I got it. But it's like, how do you get it? I'm like, I don't know. I just found it.
It doesn't work that way. In order to pick up the extra energy to ring it properly, you have to know the frequency. It's like when I showed the Tesla coil, the number 2 just sitting to the side, and it started it up to have plasma. It's because I'm ringing it properly, and it's creating extra energy. That's the whole point of over unity devices.
You know how to ring it, though, and the average person doesn't, Like,
well, I don't think they need the complicated math. They just need the directions on which parts they are.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the math, you could probably do that in maybe, 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Just calculate it out, look at it, and then it's pretty simple. The harder thing is, man, is to show them which parts they are, because they're completely lost on what they are.
What I recommend is just taking a meter, and getting the RLC on it and just simulating it. Not many people simulate it to see what the waves look like before they build it. And just simulate what the true values are, and you can...
Well, okay, let me just say it this way. There's a cheap way to figure out any coil that you put on it. You just put a 20K ohm resistor on it. Take your frequency generator, then take your oscilloscope, and you run your frequency generator till it spikes. It's radio frequency, and you look for the best one, the highest spike, then you set it to that, and then basically you can work with that and dial it in and fine tune it from there, but it'll give you a basis somewhere to go.
True. Yeah.
But Sean just takes that meter and puts it on things and has it in seconds. Sean's a smart guy.
Sean is one of those intuitives. Like, I don't know if I should admit it, but he told me he doesn't really do calculations. He just winds it in a habit.
No, Sean doesn't. Because he used that meter. As soon as he's done winding it, he puts it on the meter and it tells him exactly what he needs. That's his secret. He tells you that, though.
This is why, Tesla was on that, where, quickly metering and be like, okay, I know where to go.
Yeah, here, check it out.
I love Sean, man.
So this is the meter right here.
Is that EMF?
All you got to do,
electric?
It's an LCR meter.
Oh, do you know if you can change the frequency?
What he does is he figures out the exact amount of resistance in it and what he needs. He can tell you exact caps to put on something. That's why in his Tesla coil, he just puts as many winds as he feels like it. I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? On his number 1 coil. And then he'll turn it around and put this meter on it and calculate it. And then that's it. He can just take the secondary coil, figure out its capacitance, and he's done. That's what Sean does. And he does it very quickly, by the way.
Yeah, he's a tuner, man. Like, if I'm playing guitar and I'm about to go on stage, you better know how to tune it. And Sean's a tuner. I'd be like, hey, Sean, can you tune my guitar? He'd be like, I would sound beautiful on stage, because he knows what he's doing.
So let me just put it out there. It's an LCR meter. It's DE-5000. So DE-5000.
Cool.
That's the one you want. They're about $149 on Amazon. And Sean showed it several times when he does the build.
And you should be able to adjust the frequency. Remember the last video he did? Yeah, you should be able to adjust the frequency. So if you're in the kilohertz, you can get the more accurate reading at like 10 kilohertz. So you can adjust it. Like if you're expecting the kilohertz, you want to set the frequency on that meter to be close to the frequency you want to get the most accurate inductance and capacity.
Well, we can mess with the Tesla coil and change the thing without even touching the secondary, without changing the size. We just have to create some impedance on the inside. So a lot of people don't understand this. If you leave a Tesla coil open on top and bottom in the air, then your amount of distance you get out of it is much shorter. As soon as you close the top and bottom, it gets further apart. Now, when you actually put something in there in order to change that, it gets even further. Now, the idea is the more you put in there and the heavier it gets, the less spark you get out of it, but the more distance, because you're changing the rate in which it sparks out at. So I told Sean one day, I go, I'm going to just take some dry sand and put it in the center of it. I says, I'm going to create heat, and that heat's going to give me distance in this field.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Dude, it's fun to explore just like really washing surfaces of different materials like sand and stuff and drying it out to make it like as less humidity as possible. Like I said, it's honestly like a week of high humidity. So I'm literally going to make a bin that's just like as zero humidity as I can, because that's all I can do. Like living in Georgia, it's so humid, man. I bet where you're at it's humid too.
No, it is. It's always hot, except for today.
Sean said it's arid where he is. I wish it was arid.
But Sean's in Chicago. He gets a little more mist and stuff out there, and some cooler weather.
But it's cool, you know. Like on dry days, I just do, or rainy days, I just do research and stuff. But when summer comes along, it's a good time to dehydrate stuff. You know what I mean? It is kind of seasonal if you want to make electrics without a bin, you know, but
yeah.
I want to literally make a dehydration bin, because then I can put gloves on and go in there, you know, have a controlled environment, even though it's like 60, actually, it's 70, I wish I could show you, but 70% humidity, and then just have an environment like 1 or 5% humidity. That would give me the ability to do what I gotta do. Because if you were to like bake it and dehydrate it and all that, as soon as you pull it out of the oven, especially sand, because it's hydrophilic, it's gonna absorb water. It's actually gonna absorb water out of the air no matter what. If it's like 60, 70% like this. So you're baking it for really no reason, because you're gonna have a nanoparticle coating of water on it when you pull it out.
You see, I like your sand in a loose form that basically I can run in a sphere and let it charge as it rotates. See,
one chat guy had a good suggestion. It's a very fine silicon.
You're gonna have to start over. What was the suggestion?
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. What was the suggestion?
Sorry, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, you need to quickly convert it.
Okay. Fume silica.
Okay. Oh man, lost them again.
Sorry. Ugh, what time is it? Okay, we can go a little bit. I mean, if the crowd has questions. Yeah, desiccant. That's what I wanted this bin to just be, a desiccant bin. Yeah, just I've got like a lot of like those pouches, and Sean was telling me, you can microwave them to dehydrate them again, so they're reusable. I just want like a bin that's really dry, and I put my hands through some gloves that are similar to these, like I said, but not these. These are for a different purpose. But you like put your gloves, you put your hands in a bin that's dehydrated and do your experiments. And that way, no matter what the humidity is, I am in a dry environment. I think it'd be cool.
Well, I'd look on the eBay and see if they have any used ones out there, or if they have something that's similar to it where you can cut the holes in and create the part yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's not that far off to figure out.
Yeah, I think it's cheaper because I already got the bin, I got the gloves, and I got the machine that pulls the water and condensates it, the dehydrator. So I'm gonna put the dehydrator into the bin and have it just a really dry environment, and like layer it with those desiccant packets, so that no matter what humidity is not absorbed by the dehumidifier, the desiccant packets should at least absorb it, and then put paper towel and whatever I'm experimenting on to know that it's the most dry environment I can get at.
Yeah, I get it. That's cool.
Because I have to, like Georgia, like I said, it just drives me crazy whenever it's so humid. I'm waiting for a day where it goes below 30, like you want 30 or below. And if it's not like that, like it's pointless, because like I said, as soon as you pull it out of the oven, you're gonna get a.
Wait till summer in California when it's 110 degrees outside, and then it feels like there's no moisture in the air. Then you're ready to go.
Yeah, just have one of these though. I know what day I can do it, unless I do it in a controlled environment. That's why I want to try.
All right. You know what? You want to see what Mike's up to?
Yeah.
Let's give Mike a shout out here. He's got some cool stuff on his channel he's building.
Cool.
Yeah, he just got some new products. I'll let him explain it, but I was watching it earlier today.
Yeah, come on, Mike. He's asking for a link.
Yeah, I'm sending it right now. You should have it in a second.
Yeah, Mike.
He's using what is it? A sonic water cleaner thing.
Yeah, the ultrasound.
Ultrasound, yeah. In order to create some stuff, so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Give him a chance to shout that out while you're here.
If I could ask him, I gotta run to the restroom real quick, but could you ask him if he's using acetone or ammonia? I get these confused.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? I think he's using isopropyl alcohol is what I saw.
Oh, that's what I use. I love that stuff.
Run to the restroom, man. Hurry up. He'll be here in a minute.
I'll be right back.
Mike, what's up?
Hey,
I'm still on the show. Sorry.
How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Just making some graphene.
Right on, man. You want to tell us how you're doing it with your system?
Yeah, so it's actually very easy. It's not rocket science at all. It's called ultrasonic defoliation or exfoliation, proper term. So you get a flask and you put 75%, say, isopropyl alcohol, or you could do acetone, anything that is that's going to break it down. You could even use sulfuric acid if you wanted. Little too caustic for my liking. So use the isopropyl alcohol, 75%, and 25% deionized water. And then you put about 5 to 10 grams, maybe more. There's really no set amount of pure graphite powder. I'm using the 600 mesh. And yeah, just put it in there and turn on the heat. The new ultrasonic cleaner that I bought is a little bit more professional. You can do heat on it. So I got it about 70 Fahrenheit. And I just hit it with the ultrasonic for about 2 to 3 days. You got graphene.
So does it come out as a liquid? I keep seeing a liquid, or does it harden up? Or
well, it all depends how you want to do it. Some people like to put it through several filters.
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of the conversation. I'm sorry.
Got background. So yeah, you collect that sludge. So what I like to do is try to put it through about 3 different filters to get any impurities out. And then that leftover sludge, then you can put that into a container, and that is your pure graphene. So
okay, so
go ahead.
The sludge itself, is it drying out at that point, or do you shape it and let it dry?
Right. So you have a choice. One, you could keep it in a liquid form. So right now you got the acetone in it. So you have to let the acetone basically vaporize from the mix as much as possible. And then some people, what they do, if they want to keep it in a liquid form, you add India ink.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you put the graphene with the India ink, stir it up, and boom, now you got a pliable, a conductive layer. So it will go on any surface. So what I want to do, what my plan is, not only I want to do that, I also want to put it into an inkjet printer. So
really?
Now, yeah. So you take your inkjet cartridge, remove the ink that's in there, and put this mixture inside in its place, and now you can print integrated circuit boards.
Oh, check it out, Mike. Okay, check it out. I saw a 3D printer that was using it as an inkjet, and it would build it layer by layer as a 3D printer.
Yep, yeah. You can buy the conductive graphene filament, but this one here would be a lot more effective because when you put it with the India ink, you can add a little bit of alcohol to it, and now you can put it in an airbrush. So you can print whatever it is you want, and take the airbrush and just paint it with the graphene. Now your whole surface, yeah.
I might be hitting you up on that then, Mike, because we're doing that sphere thing, and graphene might be a good charge candidate.
Yeah, it's got the highest charge density out of. That's why these graphene supercaps are just like turning heads, because the energy charge density is like ridiculously high. That's why this stuff is gold. This is the real black gold. Instead of oil, this is, in my eyes, this is the black gold.
Nice.
Because you can make circuit boards with it. You can make solar panels with it. You can make what do you call it? Conductive paste for removing the heat from your CPUs. As far as like its thermal conductive properties are really amazing. So.
Yeah, it reminds me of a carbon cell in a way.
So, like, you can make like batteries with this stuff. You can make them paper thin now. All your contact layers.
In my audio.
Open.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I could barely hear you. Your volume is really low.
Well,
that's a little better.
Yeah, I was saying it kind of reminds me of a carbon cell. Have you looked into those?
Sorry, say that again.
A carbon cell?
Yeah. You can make anything with it.
It's like endothermic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you could do like say what do you call thermoelectric effects with it, where you could actually create cells, and when you put a charge to it, one side will get cold while the other side warms up,
Yeah.
kind of
It's
like the Peltier.
Yeah, it's like the opposite too of like me and Sean are doing more of the Zamboni pile. You heard of that, right?
The Zamponi, yeah, yeah.
That would be more of what me and Sean are doing with electrics, right?
Well, the Zamboni pile, the great thing about those are it has an extremely long lifespan. Some Zamboni piles, one I know of, it's in Oxford, I believe, right now. It's been putting out power for 173 years
On a bell,
on the bell going back and forth. Yeah, the electrostatic bell. So
it's
173 years it's been running.
the
So
combination, I believe, of what you're doing. With the disclosure that Paul had with the mixture of electric materials with barium, barium, I believe you use that, right?
sorry,
I
I
know
can't
you're
hear you.
NDA. Do you use barium ferrite?
Barium ferrite?
Yeah.
No, no, no. I've been experimenting with barium titanate, yes, for piezoelectric effects.
Cool. Can you hear me
The
better?
the other one that came across my table was um, not barium titanate, bismuth titanate. That's another one. I did not know about this one, so I'm actually looking into bismuth titanate now because it does have piezoelectric effects.
Business is so interesting. It's one of those things. Uh, it's actually like in Pepto Bismol, but I heard it's less rare than gold. So if we pretend that the price of it right now is more abundant,
Well, it's
so
diamagnetic
yeah.
properties to it. If
But
you put it in between,
it's
if you put
less
it in
than gold
between,
right now.
sorry.
I'm sorry. It's less than gold right now, but it's more abundant. So if you want to
Yeah.
get this right now, it's the time to do it because it's actually more rare than
Well,
gold.
I have bismuth right now in the metal form. So I have been dabbling with that stuff. It's just I have to crush it down and get it into almost like an oxide composition.
Hmm.
Then you
You
can
could,
dabble with that.
Okay, hold on real quick, guys. Got a question. So could Sean use the graphene solution to spray and charge as it leaves the nozzle for the electrodes?
Sure,
that's down the line.
sure.
Right now, we're just trying to.
Is it possible? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. But that's kind of down the line. Yeah, but yeah. Right now, we're kind of just like doing really baby steps, and I know it sounds boring, but it's kind of what you got to do to prove a patent. You got to have prototypes and give it for a grant. If we get a grant, we have to have certain prototypes made. But yeah, down the line, spraying it, especially like triboelectric nozzles and stuff, would fit into that category.
Yeah, like a lot of people think battery construction is very hard to do. It is actually very easy as long as
I
you have
agree.
as long as you have two dissimilar metals with a separator, and either it's electrolyte or a solid state electrolyte. There you got a battery.
Mike, I wish me and you would talk in person on the off channels because I really have something that I think would exponentially explode.
Well, here actually, while we're talking about this, I showed this actually Friday on my show. I'll show it again. It's my rendition of the Bendini crystal cell.
Yeah. Did you see Paul's disclosure?
Paul's oh yeah, Paul, yeah, Inventor 3, yeah. I've known Paul for a long time.
That's cool, right?
Yeah, he was on the AV Gray for a while, then he got out of it. And then I was introduced to him by Doug Conson. So I started shooting some emails to Paul in Chicago. And yeah, he's a fantastic guy, really, really knowledgeable, and he knows Hutchinson well.
I honestly think if me and you talk like backstage, I think me and you could really make like even higher density than Hutchinson had on that disclosure. Hutchinson had like 5 to 7 watts. It was like 26 volts at a third amp. So let's say 7 watts off a cell. That's pretty good, right? But he was using electric materials,
Mhm.
and I can help you with that.
Yeah, well, even like Floyd Sweet, if you watch Bendini talking about Floyd Sweet at the very end of his disclosure about Floyd Sweet, he says his VTA device was actually an electret,
Yeah.
and that
It
just
was
like, holy cow, really?
the
I was surprised.
combination, because the combination of a magnet and electric.
Yeah, yeah. I think what
Because the barium titanate was the material that did it.
right. So my theory is on what the VTA device was. The two magnets were actually the electret. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the trigger coil, what it was doing, it was oscillating the electric field created by the electret, and that field there now tickled the secondary winding of the VTA and created the power. That's my take. I might be
I
wrong.
think you're right.
Yeah.
I think the same. Because it's
Yeah,
basically it's enclosing it into a high density electromagnetic field, and all you got to
Right.
do is tickle it.
Right.
You got to tickle it the right way, and you got to know how to design the sail to catch the wind in the sailboat.
Yeah, because
You can tickle it all you want, but how do you gather
see,
it?
see the difference between an an electromagnetic wave, or let's say like just a permanent magnet, is sorry. Um, the difference between the two is one's in motion and one's not. Okay, so your permanent magnet, it is stationary, but it will go into motion if you have something manipulate that wave and get it into motion. So it's a
Right.
static, where an electret is constantly moving.
You think?
It's a static. So if you have
Tesla said if it's static, we're in doom. If it's kinetic, we'll put our will work to nature.
if it's and what he said was if it is not in motion, we're in vain. If it is
Yeah.
in motion, then
Yeah. Awesome, man. That's so cool.
So- that's kind of how my take is on the VTA. He was able to create a very strong electric field, not electrostatic field, but an electric field that stays in motion. That's why he was
Instead of the ionosphere and the ground, he had a controlled environment that he can make whatever in whatever space he wanted.
squeeze
So
it.
he can make the electric field as dense as possible and the
Right.
magnetic field as
And
dense as possible.
it only took
You have to know.
20.
But the key is the geometry of the sail to catch the wind. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's where I get it. I'm the next day.
The other thing too is he's able to only put about 20 milliamps of signal
Yeah, he
into
tickles
to
it.
make it to
Yeah,
tickle.
because the environment is so dense. All you got to do is
Right.
just tickle
Because
it.
he knows the energy environment's already been created by the electret. Okay.
Right.
All he has to do now is
It's
just
both.
manipulate.
Right.
Give it
It's
away.
both the magnet and the electric. It's
Yeah.
both fields. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I know the sail to catch it. You know what I mean? I know the next
Yeah.
stage. You have to understand it's a high density environment. You're jiggling it, and then you need to know how to capture it. You know?
See, I got really interested with Floyd Sweet is when I found out he was protege of Dr. Crone.
Crumb?
So, yeah, Dr. Crone, he was one of the lead engineers of magnetics at GE.
The negative resistance guy?
Yeah, the negative resistor. He created the negative resistor.
Yeah.
So that was Daniel Crone. And Floyd Sweet was protege of him.
So the negative resistor has to be the programming of the matter, and it's got to be related to bismuth or what was it? I'm sorry. The material seems like it's both a good electric and a good magnet.
Yeah,
Well,
it was using a very soft barium ferrite.
Barium ferrite.
Those
Yeah,
magnets
but then the barium titanate was more of the electric, right?
well, that gives you the piezoelectric effect. The barium titanates used in piezoelectric transducers. Those are the ones I use in my Renegade device. That's why I get like a 50% gain in power, just because of the crystals.
Barium ferrite and barium titanate are interesting.
Barium titanate. Yeah.
I think barium titanate too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
Yeah. It is. Do you ever see that with what is his name? Like
Hutchinson
the beryllium sphere.
Beryllium sphere.
Galaxy Quest.
Can't remember if I've seen that.
Galaxy Quest. It was a movie. They had to go to a planet and get beryllium spheres. It was a comedy. Never mind. If you don't get it, it's not going to lead anywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the conditioning a matter where we need to go.
Well, if you create an electrostatic potential that you don't have to put any energy into it, like an electret, right? It's there. After you create the electret, the static field is there.
Yeah.
So all you have to do now is put a coil around it and put another trigger coil around it and just start manipulating it.
Just jiggle it,
Just jiggle it. And you're going to get power out of that secondary winding.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to do. I like the plasma channel. He's done some really good builds.
Yeah.
And he uses polyethylene. So you melt it down. And when you melt polyethylene in a pot, it'll go from white into translucent. You can see through. It's see-through.
Sean just did that.
So you put that into a mold, and as it's cooling, he hits it with 40,000 volts of electrostatic charge on it. And by the time it dries up and becomes really hard, that static field is now in it. It's embedded into it. And he was getting, I think, about 5 feet distance. He was picking up an electrostatic field within 5 feet.
Polyethylene is the perfect binder. Do you get what me and Sean are doing now?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So with the binder, we have an aggregate. We pre-charge the aggregate using triboelectric effects and others.
Right.
So we can go for a more dominant positive or a more dominant negative pole through the triboelectric. So we can. It's not just a solid positive or negative monopole. It's more positive or more negative because we pre-charged it. So you can have a monopole.
Right. Monopole would be interesting.
Right. Yeah, that's where.
If you could do monopoles, then making magnet motors is a lot easier.
Right. Dude, all you got to do is have a positive and negative monopole, and you can have an electrostatic generator spin off the air ionization. So you wouldn't even need magnets in that case. But magnets are like an emergent thing. Like all the elements are electronic, but when it comes to ferromagnetism, there's iron, cobalt, nickel, one other that I can't think of. But those are all electronic. So electric fields being separate makes a big difference because you can't separate magnetic poles like you can charges.
Yeah, sounds cool. Yeah, so I'm working on that. I'm making the graphene right now. I'm still working on the battery stuff. So I got like 3 I actually got a new one on the go. What it
I'd
is
like to
is
work with you, man. I think you can really make me and you like really make some cool stuff.
yeah.
Especially, I'm sorry, never mind. I love your work, you know, and I think that it would be perfect with me and Sean, you know.
Yeah, well, listen to this. I got a new project on my table. Basically, what it is a coaster, okay, that you put your cup on there of water. It structures your water. It does all of it. It does
That's cool, man.
520. It does 528 hertz into it. IR,
Everybody.
optic spectrum going into it. It's going to do a whole whack of stuff, and it's going to be in a coaster. And then you can plug the coaster into your computer or run off your USB off your computer.
Dope. I love it.
I'm working on that now. That's the new project I've just been asked to tackle, and yeah, so I'm ordering parts for that. So
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I got like 3-4 projects going right now. I'm starting to get confused. I'm like, oh my god, so much.
Especially like when you have ADD, it's just hard to know where to go. You know, but I think I need to start with just a very dry environment, like you said before. Like water, if you're going for a high electric charge, water is just gonna naturally build a monolayer. It doesn't even matter if it's above 30% humidity. No matter what you do, as soon as you get that out, the water is gonna.
What I've actually done, I did this about a year ago, maybe over a year ago. I took a Tesla pancake coil, all right? It was about 6 inches in diameter. And then I hooked that up to my Renegade device. So I had this high voltage, high spike going through it, right? So I take my filtered water, put it on top of the Tesla coil, the pancake coil, and I let the thing run for about 30 minutes. Okay. Now, this is really interesting about what happened to the water. Not only that I structured it, I've actually put electrical potential into the water. When I took a sip of the water, you know when you put a 9-volt battery to your tongue and you get that tingling feeling? I got that from the water I drank.
Did it taste sweet? Like I heard negatively charged water is sweet, and I heard positively charged water.
It was sweet, but it was tingling on my tongue. Like when you put the 9-volt battery to your tongue, it gives you that almost.
No, yeah. But like I heard when it comes to like the structure, you know, because okay, I could take dry sand and shake it into a PVC pipe and charge it, and then use that as a filter for water, and then that water would be induced positive. You know, just because it's going through a positive charge as a filter, so I could structure it as positive or negative, depending on where I want to go. And the taste is different.
Right.
So if it tastes sweet, I would say that's more of a negative charge. But I want to get the understanding. It'd be a cool experiment to say, look, we know this is positively charged. We know this is negatively charged. Is there a taste difference?
Right. What I also did too, just as for a little experiment, I add a little bit of table salt to the water. And when I added the table salt to the water, the energy density of the water increased.
I can see why.
It was like, I made like a liquid battery, like an electrolyte, right? I charged electrolyte.
Himalayan water, though, you know?
Yeah. So you could use like sea salt or something like that. I've got some sea salt. I could always crush a bit of that up, put it in the water, and then charge the water that way too.
Yeah.
That'd be very good for like if you're in a hot day, you know, you want to stay hydrated. This would be the thing to do.
Do you think water that's more electron charged will give you energy, and water that's more proton charged would make you tired? Like a sedative?
Well, it definitely has energy density, right? It's very much it's the charge system of our bodies. Our body is like 75% water.
Yeah, so, I'm wondering though, like if you drank water that you know is full of electrons versus a bladder full of protons.
Well, yeah, because it's going to react with your body chemistry. Because our metabolical system we're a walking battery. Let's face the facts. We're a walking battery, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If our electrolyte in our body goes to a critical level, we die. Our
Right.
organs shut down. Our brain shuts down.
It could be too much of a shock because that pH level does matter. You know what I mean? So it could be too much of a shock if you did too much positive water or too much negative water. It could be a shock to the pH. So you got to be careful.
Well, it all depends how pure the water is too. Like the minerals in the water. You know what type of minerals. If you have calcium in the water or whatever, that can really affect. Yeah, the water is interesting because they did experiments. I believe it was in San Francisco. They did some experiments with water. They actually
you want to study water.
Water. They were actually storing data in water. In some experiments. So
water is amazing. It's like
it's program. You can program water. You can program water. Water retains.
You can pray over water to program.
Yes. Yep. Yep. That's what that Japanese scientist was doing. He set up an experiment. He had 10 people focused around this glass of water, right? And they said, okay, nothing but happy thoughts. Focus that energy to this water. And they did it. Then he took the water, put it in a little petri dish, and then froze it. Okay.
Beautiful.
Then he got the second group to do the same thing, but put angry thoughts into the water. Put it in the petri dish and put them side by side in the freezer. The crystalline structure between the happy thoughts and the negative thoughts were just unbelievable. It was totally 100% conclusive that your thoughts, your mind energy could embed itself in that water. It retains conscious feeling.
I think it's tough always putting out a good vibe, but the more you do that, the more people around you can pick up on it too, because sometimes they have a bad day. But if you're just like, hey man, and try to put out a good karma, and try to,
you'll pick it up.
Because they're water too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that experiment shows that you care, but it's hard. It's hard to be.
It's like if you're working with somebody and say that person has a lot of negative intent, they're always.
You don't want to be around them, dude. I just can't be around.
Right, exactly. You feel that energy. Your body picks up that negativity, and it stores it in the water that's within your body. Mm-hmm. It's 100% true.
I'm allergic to drama.
I'm sure a lot of people are, but a lot of people have negative thoughts all the time, or very negative. I have one person at my work that's just like, the guy's a Grim Reaper. Like he's just death. He's walking death.
Dude,
so the second I come near him, I can feel that negativity.
I don't even want to be near it, man.
Yeah, it's like run.
I'm so sensitive. Like I'm empathic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I honestly think that I feel emotions, and that's why I try to be a good person, because my emotions affect others too. So I try to be positive. You know what I mean? But
and there's the other negative energy too. They call them energy vampires, where they seem to suck the life out of you when you're around them, right? They pull you down, right? Some people are like that. You'll know right away. If you're
they get a kick out of looking at you being happy and just being depressed.
Degrade. Yeah.
Just it.
Bunch of succubuses.
Yeah.
Energy vampire.
I know women that are like that. They just suck all the energy out of you, and they're like, "Fuck, I gotta get out of here."
Yeah, your body feels it. Your body feels it. It's telling you, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, run for the hills.
Yeah. It's like
I can't get any better.
It's like me and my sister-in-law. have to run.
That's right. You develop a habit to go to the garage when they come over. You're like, get the hell out of
Gotta
here.
go for a smoke, man. Gotta go for that smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But our bodies are designed to feel energies. We are walking energy. We are a walking battery. We can also charge our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Nathan, if he's working around his Tesla coil for any given time, and if he's drinking, say, like water that might have a bit of salt in it or whatever, I'm pretty sure you're going to feel quite a bit better after about 20 or 30 minutes being around your coil, because that energy will charge the electrolyte in your body. Biologically, it works.
I will say one thing. When it comes to electrolytes, it's funny that like your brain's full of fat because they're long chain, right? And when you polarize something, you really want a long chain, like omega-3. And like our brain's mostly fat. You know, somebody says it's like silicon, but like, so I think the olive oil was offered as a peace offering because olive oil has great fatty acids.
Right.
You know?
Fish oils, fatty acids. Yeah. Those are essential for a good brain. You know,
it's a good peaceful. And like the good fats are good. You know, but people.
All right, guys, we're going into the weeds here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. My bad.
But
all I want to say is your brain is mostly like omega-3 type of thing. And that's electric. You know.
Yeah, our body responds to all this stuff. But going back to the graphene thing, you know what? You can pretty much do anything with this stuff. Like you can make, think about putting a battery into paint, and then you paint it on your wall. So now
Robert
Morris
Smith like you know, he does. Robert Morris Smith does something like that. I like the conductive ink and stuff.
Yeah.
And like 10 ohms per square is really good if you can get that.
Yeah.
You know
10 ohms.
I was thinking this. Take a platform of glass and rub it with like rabbit fur to triboelectrically charge it. Then rub some graphene with a glove on top. Triboelectric charge that too. And the triboelectric charge could layer it better. And you could you could rub the back of it to keep it charged. It's like a electrophorus.
Yeah. You could probably do it in layers. If you do it in layers, it would be almost like an electric capacitor.
Right. But the more you do it, he showed that the resistance drops the more you because the tape method was the first, right? It was a triboelectric kind of thing. So if you triboelectrically charge the substrate as you're doing it, the charge will actually give it a more hexagonal structure. You know, like they'll fall in line more hexagonally
because graphene is basically, if you got real graphene, it is basically one molecule thick, hexagonal, and they're all attached in a grid, right? And that's why the energy density is so high with this stuff, and also the internal resistance of it is like next to nothing. You could get it at less than 10 ohms, 3 ohms, I've heard. You can get it within 3 ohms resistance. Also the mechanical strength of it. So now you can put this in paint and protect, say, the enamel on your car, put it into a wax. Now you can wax your car with graphene. I got a spray right now that has graphene oxide in it. I'm going to do it in the spring here since the weather gets better and give my car a nice coat of graphene on it. And it'll protect your vehicle, right? So
I want to see if we can do it triboelectrically too. I like your method, but I think it'd be interesting to like make it as an electrophorus, rub the back of it and charge it, and then like just use the friction.
Yeah, you would have to do a lot of experiments with that. I haven't personally done anything like that, so I would have to do a lot of experimentation with that.
But graphene is where it's at. So even flash graphene, you know.
Flash graphene, way too dangerous to make. Way too dangerous.
It is. It is dangerous. I got these gloves, man. I got like I got like crazy close to that.
I'll do the ultrasonic method. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot safer. A lot
Yeah.
safer.
That's
All right,
cool.
guys, we're about 2.5 hours in. Let's wrap
All
it
right.
up.
Okay. Thanks for having me on.
Mike, it's always awesome to have you on, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see each other Friday night.
Yeah. All right, man. Jarvis, thank you for coming in and doing this, brother. I appreciate it. I want to thank the chat out there, guys. It's awesome. I'm going to roll some credits, and we're going to take off, man. So
I'll be tuning in
The
on
old
Friday.
man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. With conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old